What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. I hope everyone is keeping wonderfully well. The All-Ireland Senior Football Championship final now is just a couple of days away. Dublin against Kerry. So much hype, so much build-up, so much anticipation here in the capital, and I'm sure it's very much the same down in Kerry as well. And what I thought I would do with the build-up and everything else, and just sort of building into the excitement, is do a combined starting 15 for both Dublin and Kerry, just for the crack really, because look, there's so many great players in either side, like there really is. And actually, when you do a combined starting 15, it's absolutely frightening, the team that you come up with. But look, I mean, obviously this is the creme de la creme, like the two best teams in the country. Look, there's probably a lot of players who aren't going to get into my team that could very well go on and dominate and have a fantastic performance in the All-Ireland final. There's so much quality players on show. But look, just for a bit of content, just for a bit of crack, we'll do a combined starting 15. Dublin against Kerry. Obviously, bear in mind, this is my opinion, but yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But anyway, let's get into it. A combined starting 15. Obviously, the best players from either side. That's what we'll be basing this criteria off. Who is the best player in each position? So let's get into it. So we'll start off with the goalkeeper then, and obviously two choices here, Stephen Cluxton and Shane Ryan. I mean, Shane Ryan's been very good this year and he's come on leaps and bounds over the last couple of years, but I just don't think you can look past Stephen Cluxton. Look, obviously maybe there might be a bit of bias in some of these picks here with myself as a Dublin fan. I have tried, I think to be fair, I have removed a lot of my bias down the years, and I will be as unbiased as I usually am, to be fair, when picking this team. But look, Cluxton is one of the all-time greats, and to be fair, he hasn't lost it in my opinion. Like when you look at some of the saves he's been making, his kickouts have been phenomenal, and he's done it there and there again on the big occasion, time and time again. And he doesn't, like, he's been out of the team for a couple of years now, and he doesn't look like he's missed a beat. Like he looks like he's just slotted straight back in, and there hasn't been a problem whatsoever. And fair play to Cluxton, like he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. A couple of big saves in big moments. His kickouts, I remember, versus Mayo were absolutely outstanding as well. Other than that moment against Monaghan where he nearly dropped the ball in the net, which was an absolute blunder, and that was probably the only real moment I've looked at Cluxton and thought, Jesus, he is human after all. But look, Shane Ryan's been phenomenal as well. Like, and that's the thing with picking this team, is that you've got so many brilliant players. I'm not picking one player over another player because the other player isn't good. You're looking at the finest of margins. And just for me, I think Cluxton would, if there was a team that would be made of the combined starting 15 of Dublin and Kerry, I would go with Cluxton personally. I think he's phenomenal goalkeeper, and you look how much improved the Dublin fullback line actually is since Cluxton came back in. Like, David O'Hanlon was excellent for Dublin in the league. He made so many big saves, but our fullback line at the best of times was cut open, and I think Cluxton coming back in is just shore things up. The fullbacks obviously and the defence obviously have confidence in Cluxton in there. So yeah, Cluxton for me, number one in the Dublin and Kerry combined starting 15. Right cornerback, we've gone for Tom O'Sullivan of Kerry. I suppose the other option here would have been Lee Gannon of Dublin, but I think, look, Lee Gannon, phenomenal player for Dublin, and he's obviously still a young lad, only his second season in the starting 15 for Dublin this year. Obviously played with the under-20s a couple of years prior to that, but I think Tom O'Sullivan, look, he was phenomenal in the All-Ireland final last year. He was one of Kerry's best players that day. You see him breaking forward. He's able to put points over the bar. He's able to add something in attack as well as defence. And, he's been a spearhead for that Kerry defence in the last couple of seasons. Phenomenal turnovers, brilliant work rate. And, he's just fantastic, isn't he, in that position? Like, as I said, Lee Gannon, not necessarily a bad defender. Like, again, don't take it up the wrong way. I just think Tom O'Sullivan's the more veteran player in that position. And I think Lee Gannon, to be fair, has got a lot of years left in the tank, and he might very well go on to be one of Dublin's great cornerbacks, in my opinion. But I think if you're judging it right now, Tom O'Sullivan has been outstanding for Kerry in the last couple of years, and I would 100% have him in the right cornerback position. In a fullback's a difficult one. You obviously have Jason Foley and Mick Fitzsimons. I will be honest, I have found a way to get Mick Fitzsimons and Jason Foley both in the team. So Jason Foley's in a fullback, Mick Fitzsimons is in at left cornerback. Mick Fitzsimons has played more so as a fullback this year, but he has played as a cornerback in the past, in particular 2019, the replay when he picked up David Clifford. And obviously the other options in there would have been Graham O'Sullivan or Owen Merchant in that left cornerback position. And to be fair, Owen Merchant's been outstanding. Graham O'Sullivan's been very good as well. Owen Merchant's been in and out of the side through injuries, though, in fairness, so I don't think you could put him in right now, in my opinion, if we're going to base it off this year or what we've seen, or generally who are the better players. So yeah, Jason Foley's been outstanding for Kerry. He did look a little suspect at times against Derry, although he did get himself a goal going down the other end. And yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds for Kerry in the last couple of seasons. Again, like when you look at that Kerry defence and they're packing around the inside forwards, as they will do with Dublin this week, and forcing turnovers and everything else, Jason Foley has been phenomenal in doing so. So put him in a cornerback. Mick Fitzsimons, he's been around a long time. He's bidding for his 9th All-Ireland this Sunday. He'll be one of the very first few players to ever do so, alongside James McCarthy and Stephen Cluxton, if Dublin do win on Sunday. He probably has lost a bit of pace down the years. There's absolutely no question about that. But he still has the intelligence. He still has the intelligence as a defender. He's still getting blocks in. Like, I've seen that block against McManus, against Monaghan. He's still doing great work. He definitely has lost pace, as you do when you get older. And it's going to be interesting. Does he pick up Clifford on Sunday? That would be a phenomenal battle, won't it be? Like, you think Clifford definitely has the pace to tear him inside and out. And to be fair to Dublin, I don't think they'll leave Clifford 1v1 with Fitzsimons. I think that would be absolute madness. Fitzsimons in at left cornerback. I think he is still Dublin's best defender, in my opinion. I think his intelligence at knowing where the ball is going to be and knowing when to get the block in, get the challenge in. So yeah, Fitzsimons for me in at left cornerback, Jason Foley in at fullback. Moving into the halfback line, in a 5 we have Gavin White, and Gavin White has been in and out of side at times this year through injury, but I do think all in all he still is the best player to put in this position. And I think Kerry have so much more when Gavin White is in the side. Like, I think we've seen throughout the league, and even at times in the championship when he was missing, like, I think with Gavin White, what he brings you is, look, we know how good of a defender he can be and everything else, and he's that man to sort of approach when, you know, one of the half forwards have the ball in that position. But what he offers in attack is so key. Like, he's almost that man to play the pass before the pass, if that makes sense. And in terms of turnovers, which has been so key to Kerry even last year in terms of them going on to win the All-Ireland, like the amount of turnovers they got versus Galway, Gavin White was crucial to that, in my opinion. So I think Gavin White gets in a 5. He usually does play at number 7, but obviously there's a few more players in here that I think maybe would trump Gavin White to the number 7 jersey. So we'll put Gavin White in at number 5. So centre-back is a difficult one. Like, you have John Small, who has been probably one of the most underrated footballers for Dublin down the years. Like, John Small has this probably reputation as a hard hitter, very aggressive, over-the-top player. But he is so good at times. He's so calm on the ball. Like, to be honest, like this year, he's hardly put a foot wrong. Do you know what I mean? He's been outstanding this year. But I think, like, it's so hard because you look at Tyg Morley, obviously, as well. But when I was creating this team, I was thinking, right, you've got to have Jack McCaffrey at wing back, in my opinion. I know McCaffrey's been in now at times this year, but I still think overall he still is the better player to play in that position. And when he gets going, he's absolutely phenomenal. So then when I was looking at midfield, you're thinking, where does James McCarthy fit in all of this? Like, he has to get into the team. And to be fair, we would usually normally see him play in midfield or at wing back. Against Mayo, he played in midfield. Against Monaghan, he played in midfield. But at times earlier in the championship, he was playing at wing back. So we've actually put him in at centre back. And to be fair, he has played in that position with Ballybun Kickham's down the years, and he has played in that position with Dublin in the past as well. But I think overall, for what he's given to Dublin in the last sort of 10 years or so, and this year as well, it's really surprised me, because I remember looking at McCarthy last year, and even in 2021, he looked like a player who had slowed down. It looked like maybe the legs, you know, had fallen off ever so slightly with McCarthy, because, look, he's been around for such a long time. He's bidding to win his 9th All-Ireland. He's been there, you know, since the 2011 days and everything else, and he is an absolute legend of Dublin. But I did not see some of his performances this year. He has been absolutely phenomenal. Against Mayo, like, the amount of kickouts he was winning high balls, he was getting turnovers, breaking forward with those sort of diagonal runs that he likes to do. And he's a brilliant kicker of the ball as well. Like, when he's on form, he's absolutely unplayable. He has been in phenomenal form this year. So James McCarthy gets in as centre-back. Left half-back is Jack McCaffrey. As I said, like, I know if you were to look at it maybe this season and you were to look at All-Stars or whatever, like, that's not really what this team is about. Like, this team is just more so the best Dublin and Kerry combined 15. Obviously players that are still playing today. But I think Jack McCaffrey in at wing back. He's been look, even when he came on against Monaghan, he gets that point. He still has it. You can tell he's probably, he's been out of the side for a long time. A bit of rustiness, everything else. A couple of injuries maybe that he's been carrying, that he's probably been trying to shake off the more the championship is going on. Does he start on Sunday? Like, that is the very interesting one. And maybe you could argue, should a player who's not going to start in the Dublin and Kerry All-Ireland final play in this position? Maybe not. Like, maybe Paul Murphy needs to be in here. Maybe you put Tadhg Morley in at 6 and James McCarthy at 7. But I think McCaffrey still, from looking at Monaghan, from even the Mayo game as well, there was a big goal chance he had against Mayo where he could have went for goal and he chose not to. I still think he has it. We haven't seen enough of him so far. But I still think he will be the best man to be played in that position. So, yeah, Jack McCaffrey in at number 7. Let's get on to midfield. So in at number 8, it's an obvious one, Brian Fenton. Don't really need to explain too much as to why I've put him in here. Look, he's a Rolls-Royce midfielder. And we've really seen him come alive actually in the last few games, especially when it's come into the melting pot. And the thing about Fenton is that he's really stepping up in big moments when we need him. Against Monaghan, like, his performance in the last 5-10 minutes was absolutely outstanding. Against Mayo, he was very good as well. Like, he has had moments in the last couple of years where it's been a bit uncharacteristic maybe of Fenton to play the odd bad pass or miss the odd chance. And it's probably maybe because we have Fenton at such high standards because of, obviously how good he was in that 6 in a row spell, having not lost the championship game and everything else. But I think this year he's been brilliant. And overall over the last couple of years he's been outstanding. So Fenton in at 8. The other midfielder, like a couple of options here. Jack Barry's been very good notoriously against Dublin, in fairness. Could have maybe put a Tom Lahiff or a Brian Howard in here. It was a difficult one. I've gone for Diarmuid O'Connor of Kerry. It's probably the one position I'm not entirely convinced with, because I do think Brian Howard deserves to be in here as well, but Howard probably hasn't always played in midfield, has often sort of played in the half-forward line, sometimes the half-back line. And in the last couple of years, he hasn't always been a regular starter. So I think Diarmuid O'Connor, especially after that performance versus Tyrone a couple of weeks ago as well, I think he'd more than earn his place in this team if there was one. Like, he's fantastic, isn't he? Like, 1-2 that day. And I think if Kerry are going to win on Sunday, he'll have to be at his absolute brilliant best, in my opinion. So Diarmuid O'Connor in there as the second midfielder. He does play, I think he used to play in the half-forward line a good couple of years ago, and he's probably not physically as big as like someone like Fenton, but he offers so much. And as I said, he was outstanding a couple of weeks ago against Tyrone. Fairly decent against Derry as well. So he's the other man in midfield. We move into the forwards then, and this is really where this team became almost near impossible. Number 10, very difficult one. Very, very difficult one, because there's two options here. It's Ciarán Kilkenny or it's Paudie Clifford. I think Ciarán Kilkenny hasn't been at his brilliant best this year, but I do think overall Ciarán Kilkenny has been one of the best players for Dublin in the last couple of years. Like, even last year he was our player of the year. 2021, I think he was Dublin's best player as well. He had a very good game when he came on against Monaghan, and I think that's certainly him in line to start on Sunday. Paudie Clifford's been very good as well. He definitely has had a few poor performances. Mayo is one that stands out. Against Cork, I thought he was okay, but he wasn't at his best. So it's a tricky one, but I've gone for Kilkenny. I just think he just offers a bit more for me than Paudie Clifford. And I suppose when you're picking this team and everything else, it goes down to the finest margins, doesn't it? And Kilkenny probably just offers a bit more in terms of scoring. He'll add a bit more points for me than someone like a Paudie Clifford, and he's been there and done it time and time again from a Dublin perspective. So I'd go with Kilkenny. I know Paudie Clifford, you could play him at 11. Sometimes he's in the full forward line as well. 11, Sean O'Shea, absolute no-brainer here in my opinion. Kilkenny, to be fair, does often play at 11, and if you're looking at players who could maybe compete, or you could say instead of Sean O'Shea, like Sean Bugler, I don't think so. Noel Scully, definitely not. Sean O'Shea, absolutely all day long, and his performance against Dublin last year still gives me nightmares. He was unbelievable that day, obviously getting a goal and 4 points. And look, he's had up and down moments this year. He hasn't been at his brilliant best, and as I said before, with these two teams, a lot of the time we judge these players at the highest standards, and Sean O'Shea probably is another one in my opinion. But yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal this year, phenomenal for Kerry in the last couple of years. No doubt he gets in this team. 12, we've gone for Paul Mannion. Look, Paul Mannion, yeah, like he hasn't fully settled back into Dublin's team yet. I don't think we've got a big performance from Paul Mannion just yet. To be fair, we've got big performances from a lot of other players like Colin Basquel and Costello and Con O'Callaghan and everything else. So Mannion's role has probably been a little bit different with Dublin than it would be maybe, say, as it is with Kilmacud Crokes. Like he's been playing in the half forward line a lot of the time as opposed to playing in a corner forward. And he's more so of a creator at times, like he's setting up, other lads around him, as well as obviously kicking the odd couple of points here and there. But I think overall, for what he gives you, I think you throw him in here. Like you'd look at some of the other Kerry lads who'd be playing in the half forward line, like Darragh Moynihan. I don't think you'd put him in instead of Mannion. You could argue Paudie Clifford ahead of Paul Mannion, but I still think Paul Mannion, for what he gives you in attack, and he has that potential to do something special with the ball when he gets it. Like he's one of those type players you can never leave unattended for too long. So yeah, Mannion for me gets number 12. 13, it's an obvious one, David Clifford. Absolute no-brainer, and I think if I didn't put him in this team, I think there would be, I'd probably get deleted, wouldn't I? I'd get cancelled, as they say. But yeah, David Clifford, absolute no-brainer. I still think, what kind of plans are Dublin going to have for him on Sunday? Does Mick Fitz go on him? Do they put Brian Howard in front of him? Does Owen Merchant maybe sit in front of him as well? But then if you focus too much on Clifford, you could leave Sean O'Shea, a bit like we did last year. So it's such a tough one. But I think all in all, Clifford gets in the side for obvious reasons. He can do anything with a football. And to be honest, he was the first name on the team sheet. There's a couple of positions here you think of, maybe we could put a player in here or there. But I think Clifford, absolute no-brainer for me, gets in at number 13. 14 is Con O'Callaghan. I know Clifford has often played at 14 at times this year, but Con O'Callaghan has definitely made that position his own this year. Yeah, Con's been brilliant this year. He probably hasn't got the credit he deserves in some ways. He's top scorer in the championship, which I think has gone under the radar in many ways. Probably because he hasn't had, I think a lot of people have looked at Con Basquel, how good he's been, or we point to Cormac Costello's performance against Monaghan, but Con's been brilliant as well. His second half performance against Monaghan was more like the vintage Con O'Callaghan that we know. We probably haven't had a one big standout performance from Con where he scored 1-6, 1-7 against one of the top teams, but we know when he gets the space, when he gets those openings, he has the business to do everything, and he has a bit of everything in his locker, doesn't he? He can set plays up around him, and he's scoring points, goals, he can do absolutely everything. So yeah, Con at 14. 15 is Cormac Costello, and Costello, look, he's been one of the unsung heroes for Dublin. Well, I don't know if I'd say unsung heroes. I think he does get the credit he deserves, but he probably doesn't get put in the same light as Con O'Callaghan, Dean Rock, Paul Mannion, these lads. I think he probably is now, but he was outstanding against Monaghan. His performance that day was sensational. First half, he carried Dublin in more ways than one. And he's one of those players that does have a habit of popping up in the big moments. He's definitely a big game player. You think of that goal against Kerry last year, the performance against Mayo a couple of years ago in an All-Ireland final. I think 17 or 16 that was. He was fantastic that day as well. So yeah, I think Costello gets in at 15, and that very much makes up the team. Obviously, you could have had a couple of other forwards in here. You could have argued Colin Basquel for the form that he's been in this year, but I think Costello overall, he's more reliable. I think Basquel's been in great form, but Costello has done it in a Dublin jersey for longer than Basquel, and I think that's what shades it. And you're not putting Basquel in ahead of Clifford or Con, are you? You're definitely not. So Paul Gainey maybe, but again, do you put him in over the full forwards? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Stephen O'Brien, he doesn't even start for Kerry, so I don't think he could justify putting him in there, even though he did have a great performance coming on against Derry. So yeah, that is my starting 15. You'll see the team on screen. So a combined starting 15 of Dublin and Kerry, obviously using players who will feature on Sunday. So to run through it again, Stephen Cluxton in goal, Tom O'Sullivan, Jason Foley, Mick Fitzsimons in the full back line, half back line, Gavin White, James McCarthy and Jack McCaffrey. Midfield, Brian Fenton, Jeremy O'Connor. Half forward line, Kieran Kilkenny, Sean O'Shea, and Paul Mannion, and the full forward line, David Clifford, Con O'Callaghan, and Cormac Costello. So there we go then. Let me know what would be your combined start 15 for Dublin and Kerry. Obviously, this is just a bit of crack and everything else, so don't take it too personally if you did get offended by this team. I don't know why you would, but in case you did, like, don't cry over or anything like that. You know, plenty more tough things going on in life and everything else. But yeah, look, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. I will be going live tomorrow for the team news. Hopefully team news gets announced later tonight, but I will be going live at some stage tomorrow for the team news, and I'm also going to be going live as well on Sunday morning. I'm not too sure who with as of yet, but it'll be one of the usual lads that you see me on with, and yeah, it'll just be a pre-match build-up show. Thinking of going live around 10-11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I am going to the game. I do have my ticket, which is fantastic. First All-Ireland final I would have been to since 2011, which is crazy really, but yeah, tickets have been so hard to get in previous years. And to be fair, I did have a ticket for the 13 and 15 final. I just wasn't in the country, unfortunately. But yeah, hugely looking forward to the game on Sunday. And yeah, let me know what would be your start 15, combined start 15 for both Dublin and Kerry. Any disagreements with this selection, let me know. And leave a like, subscribe. Speak to you all soon.